The night was quiet on the small farm. Ho worked alone in his workshop, his hands covered in dark grease. An old tractor engine sat on his workbench, broken and waiting to be fixed. The radio played soft music. Outside, the fields stretched into darkness, and beyond them the forest stood like a black wall against the sky. His daughter was asleep in the farmhouse nearby. She was only 7 years old, and she slept deeply after a long day of playing in the fields. Ho smiled when he thought of her. She was everything to him now. After his wife passed away 3 years ago, became his whole world. He used to be an aerospace engineer. He worked on spacecraft designs for a big company in the city. But after his wife died, he could not stay there anymore. The city reminded him of her everywhere he looked. So he took and moved to this quiet place. He bought the old farm, opened a small repair shop, and learned to live a simpler life. Ho wiped his forehead with his arm and looked at the engine. It was almost fixed. Just a few more adjustments and old farmer would have his tractor back by morning. Then the sky changed. A bright light cut across the darkness like a falling star, but bigger and faster than any star. Ho stepped outside his workshop and looked up. The light was orange and white, burning through the night. It was not a meteor. It was something else. The object crashed into the forest with a sound like thunder. The ground shook under his feet. Birds flew up from the trees, screaming into the night. Then everything went silent. Ho stood still for a moment. His heart was beating fast. He looked toward the farmhouse. Was still inside, still safe. He should call someone, the police maybe, or the military. But something made him walk toward the forest instead. He grabbed a flashlight from his workshop and moved through the dark fields. The grass was wet with evening dew. His boots made soft sounds as he walked. The forest grew closer, and he could see a faint glow between the trees. When he reached the crash site, he stopped and stared. A spacecraft sat in a small clearing. It was not like anything he had ever seen. The ship was beautiful, even broken as it was. Its surface was smooth and silver, with lines of soft blue light running along its sides. But smoke rose from one end and sparks jumped from damaged parts. The ship was dying. Ho moved closer, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. He was afraid, but he was also curious. In all his years working on spacecraft designs, he had never seen technology like this. This was not human. This was something else entirely. A sound came from the ship. A door opened on its side, sliding apart with a soft hiss. A figure stepped out. Ho's flashlight found the figure, and he felt his breath catch in his throat. She was tall, very tall, nearly 8 feet, he guessed. Her skin was pale blue like the sky just before dawn. Her hair was long and silver, falling past her shoulders like water. Her eyes were golden and bright, even in the darkness. She wore clothes that looked like they were made from liquid metal, shifting and moving with her body. She was hurt. One hand pressed against her side, and dark liquid that might have been blood seeped between her fingers. She stumbled forward, then stopped when she saw him. They looked at each other across the clearing. Ho expected many things. He expected her to attack him, maybe, or to run away, or to speak in some strange language he could not understand. But she just stood there watching him with those golden eyes. She looked tired. She looked scared. He lowered his flashlight so it would not blind her. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She tilted her head as if his words confused her. Then she spoke. Her voice was deep and musical, and somehow he understood her perfectly. "You are not afraid," she said. It was not a question. Ho thought about this. He was afraid. His hands were shaking, but he had seen fear in her eyes too, and that changed something inside him. "I am afraid," he admitted, "but you look like you need help." She stared at him for a long moment. In her world, strangers did not offer help. They demanded things. They wanted power or money or favors. No one simply helped because someone was hurt. "Why would you help me?" she asked. Ho shrugged. "Because you are hurt and I am here. That is enough reason." He stepped forward and held out his hand. She looked at his hand like it was something strange and unknown. Then slowly she took it. Her fingers were cool against his skin and much larger than his own. "My name is Ho," he said. "I have a workshop nearby. I can look at your wounds and maybe I can fix your ship." "You can fix this ship?" She sounded doubtful. "I used to be an engineer. I work with machines." He looked at the damaged spacecraft. "I have never seen anything like this, but machines are machines. They follow rules. I can learn." She was quiet for a moment, then she nodded. "My name is," she said. "I am a trader. My ship had a problem and I crashed here." It was a lie. Ho could see it in her eyes, but he did not push. Everyone had secrets. Everyone had things they wanted to hide. "Okay," he said, "let me help you." He guided her through the forest, walking slowly because of her injury. She leaned on him slightly, though she tried not to show her weakness. They crossed the dark fields together, two strangers under a sky full of stars. When they reached his workshop, Ho helped her sit on a clean bench. He found his first aid kit and looked at her wound. The cut was deep, but it had already started to heal. Her body was different from a human body, but the principles were the same: blood, tissue, healing. He cleaned the wound carefully and wrapped it in bandages. She watched him work without speaking. "You do not ask questions," she said finally. "You will tell me what you want to tell me," he answered. "I do not need to know everything." She looked at him with something like wonder in her golden eyes. In her entire life, no one had ever treated her like this. No one had ever simply helped her without wanting something in return. "Why are you alone out here?" she asked. Ho finished wrapping her wound and sat back. "My wife died 3 years ago. I have a daughter, she is 7. We moved here to start a new life. I am sorry for your loss." He nodded. "Thank you, it was hard but keeps me going." He stood up and looked toward the forest. "Tomorrow I will look at your ship. Tonight you should rest." "Where will I sleep?" He pointed to a small cot in the corner of his workshop. It was where he sometimes napped during long repair jobs. "There. It is not much, but it is warm and safe." She looked at the simple cot. In her palace, she slept on beds made of the finest materials in the galaxy, surrounded by servants and guards. But tonight, this small cot in a dirty workshop looked more welcoming than any palace room. "Thank you, Ho," she said softly. He nodded and walked toward the door. Before he left, he turned back. "Welcome to Earth. I hope you find what you are looking for here." Then he was gone, walking through the night toward his farmhouse, leaving her alone with her thoughts and her secrets. Sat on the small cot and looked around the workshop. Tools hung on the walls. Machines sat in various states of repair. It smelled like oil and metal and hard work. She was the crown princess of the sovereignty. She ruled over 400 star systems. Trillions of beings bowed before her name. She was the richest and most powerful person in this part of the galaxy. And a simple human mechanic had just shown her more kindness than anyone in her entire life. She lay down on the cot and closed her eyes. Outside, the stars continued their ancient dance across the sky, and somewhere in the darkness, the universe waited to see what would happen next. Morning came with golden sunlight and the sound of birds singing, woke on the small cot in Ho's workshop. For a moment, she did not know where she was. The ceiling was low and made of wood. The air smelled like metal and oil. This was not her palace. This was not her ship. Then she remembered the crash, the forest, the human man with kind eyes who had helped her without asking for anything. She sat up slowly. Her wound felt better already. Her body healed faster than human bodies, and the bandages Ho had wrapped around her were clean and dry. She looked at them and felt something warm in her chest. He had been so gentle. The workshop door opened and bright sunlight flooded in. Ho stood in the doorway holding 2 cups. Behind him, she could see green fields and a blue sky. "Good morning," he said. "I brought tea. I do not know if your people drink tea, but it is warm and it tastes good." took the cup carefully. It was small in her large hands, but she held it gently. She smelled the tea and found it pleasant. "Thank you," she said. Ho sat on a wooden stool near his workbench. He drank his own tea and watched her. He was not starring. He was just comfortable, like having an 8-foot-tall blue alien in his workshop was a normal thing. "I went to look at your ship this morning," he said. "The damage is bad but not impossible. The main engine is broken and some of the power systems are destroyed, but I think I can fix it." Raised her eyebrows. "You understand the technology." "Not completely," he admitted, "but I understand machines. Your ship is more advanced than anything I have worked on, but the basic ideas are the same. Energy flows through systems. Parts connect to other parts. When something breaks, you find the broken part and fix it or replace it." She shook her head slowly. Her ship used technology that took engineers years of study to understand. This human had looked at it for one morning and already knew how to approach the repairs. "You are remarkable," she said quietly. Ho laughed. "I am just a mechanic. I fix things, that is all." Before could respond, the workshop door opened again. A small girl stood in the doorway, her dark hair messy from sleep, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Daddy," said, "who is that?" Ho put down his tea and held out his hand. "Come here. She is a visitor. Her vehicle broke down and she is staying with us while I fix it." Walked into the workshop without fear. She stopped in front of and looked up at her with open curiosity. Had faced emperors and generals, diplomats and warriors, but this small child's gaze made her feel nervous. "You are very tall," said. "Yes," agreed, "I am." "Why is your skin blue?" "I was born this way. My people all have blue skin." "Your eyes are pretty. They look like gold." Felt something strange in her heart, something soft. "Thank you." Climbed onto a workbench and sat with her legs swinging. She was not afraid at all. She looked at like she was a new friend, not a strange creature from another world. "Do you have a mommy?" asked. Paused. "Yes, my mother is alive, but she is very far away." "Do you miss her?" The question was simple, but it cut deep. Did she miss her mother? Her mother, the queen, who had planned her entire life since the day she was born, who had arranged marriages and political deals without ever asking what wanted. "Sometimes," said carefully. Nodded with understanding. "My mommy died. I miss her every day, but Daddy says she watches us from the stars." Looked at Ho. His face was calm, but his eyes held old pain. "I am sorry," said. "Losing someone you love is very hard." Smiled. "It is okay. Daddy takes good care of me, and now you are here, so we have a new friend." A new friend, such simple words, but they meant more than the child could know. Later that day, Ho took to her ship. She watched in amazement as he crawled under the damaged hull, studying the broken systems. He asked her questions about how things worked, and she answered as best as she could without revealing too much about her people's technology. He pulled out burned parts and examined them. He drew diagrams in a small notebook. He talked to himself, thinking out loud about how energy might flow through alien circuits. "This part is completely destroyed," he said, holding up a melted component. "But I think I can build something similar. It will not be perfect, but it should work." "You can build alien technology?" asked. "I can try. The principle seems to be the same as a human power regulator, just more advanced. If I can understand what it does, I can find a way to do the same thing with parts I have." Shook her head. In her empire, engineers specialized in narrow fields. No single person would attempt to repair a ship alone, especially not a ship as advanced as hers. But this human saw no boundaries. He simply saw a problem that needed solving. By evening, Ho had made real progress. He had identified the main issues and created a plan for repairs. He estimated it would take 5 or 6 days to finish. They walked back to the farmhouse together, ran ahead, chasing butterflies in the fading sunlight. watched the child with something like longing in her heart. "She is wonderful," said. Ho smiled. "She is my whole world. After my wife died, I did not know how to keep going, but needed me, so I kept going for her." "You gave up your career for her?" He nodded. "I was an aerospace engineer. I worked on spacecraft designs. Good job, good money. But after everything happened, I needed peace. I needed quiet. I needed to be somewhere that did not remind me of what I lost." Understood. She had run away for similar reasons. The palace reminded her of everything she hated about her life. The expectations, the politics, the endless demands on her time and soul. At dinner, sat at the small kitchen table with Ho, and the food was simple: rice, vegetables, some fish. In her palace, she ate meals prepared by hundreds of cooks using ingredients from across the galaxy. But this simple food, made by human hands, tasted better than anything she could remember. Talked about her day. She had found a frog in the field. She had drawn a picture of a flower. She had practiced her reading. Ho listened to every word like it was the most important thing in the world. After dinner, tried to pay for the food and the repairs. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with inner light, purple and beautiful. "This is for you," she said, placing it on the table, "for your kindness." Ho looked at the crystal. "What is it?" "A power crystal, very valuable. It could power your entire farm for 100 years. It is worth more than most things on this planet." Ho picked up the crystal. He turned it in his hands, watching the light dance inside it. Then he put it back on the table and pushed it toward her. "I cannot accept this," he said. Frowned. "Why not? It is valuable beyond measure." "I do not help people for payment. You needed help, so I helped you. That is all." She stared at him. In her world, everything had a price. Every favor came with strings attached. Every kindness was a transaction. She did not understand how to respond to this. "But I must give you something," she said. Ho smiled gently. "You do not owe me anything. Just having company is nice, and I do not get many visitors." Took back the crystal slowly. She felt confused and touched at the same time. This human wanted nothing from her. He asked for nothing. He expected nothing. He simply helped because she needed help. Later that night, after was asleep, sat outside the workshop and looked up at the stars. She knew those stars. She knew their names, their systems, their rulers. Somewhere out there, her people were searching for her. A small device in her pocket buzzed. She pulled it out. It was a hidden communicator, still working despite the crash. A message glowed on its surface. "Princess, please respond. The royal guard is searching for you. Your location is unknown. Please respond." She stared at the message for a long time. Then she turned off the device and put it back in her pocket. Not yet. She was not ready to go back yet. Here, on this small farm with this kind man and his wonderful daughter, she had found something she had never found in her palace. She had found peace. She had found kindness. She had found people who saw her as a person, not as a princess. She wanted just a few more days. Just a few more days of being the simple trader with the broken ship. Was that too much to ask? 3 days passed on the small farm and something changed in. She started to smile more. She laughed sometimes. The weight she had carried for so many years grew lighter with each passing hour. Every morning she walked with Ho to her ship in the forest. She watched him work, amazed at how quickly he learned. He had built replacement parts using materials from his workshop. They were rough and simple compared to technology, but they worked. Somehow they worked. "You should not be able to do this," she told him on the 3rd day. "This technology is beyond your civilization." Ho wiped grease from his hands with an old cloth. Technology is just knowledge applied to problems. The knowledge might be different, but the problems are the same. How do you move energy? How do you control power? How do you make things work together? He pointed at a part he had built from scrap metal and wire. "This is not elegant like your technology, but it does the same job. Sometimes simple solutions work just as well as complex ones. Touched the rough part he had made. In her empire, engineers would be amazed by what this simple human had accomplished. They would study it for years. They would write papers about it, and they would never believe that one man had done it alone in a dirty workshop. In the afternoons, stayed at the farmhouse while Ho did other work. Local farmers brought broken machines to his workshop. He fixed tractors and water pumps and old trucks, watched through the window, seeing how everyone trusted him. They paid him with money or food or simple thanks, and he treated each person with the same respect. Became her constant companion. The little girl had no fear of it all. She held his large blue hand as they walked through the fields. She asked endless questions about stars and planets and alien life. She taught how to play simple human games. "Do you want to help me cook dinner?" asked one afternoon. Hesitated. "I do not know how to cook." His eyes went wide. "You do not know how to cook. Everyone knows how to cook. Where I come from, other people cook for me." Grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the kitchen. "I will teach you. It is easy. Come on." And so, crown princess of the sovereignty, ruler of 400 star systems, learned to cook rice from a 7-year-old human girl. She burned the first batch. The second was too wet, but the third was perfect and clapped her hands with joy. "You did it, see? I told you it was easy." That night Ho ate the rice that had cooked. He did not know she had made it. When told him proudly, he looked at with warm eyes. "It is delicious," he said. "Thank you." Felt heat rise to her face. She was not used to such simple praise. In her palace, nothing she did was ever enough. Nothing was ever perfect. But here, a bowl of rice made a man smile with genuine happiness. After dinner, brought out paper and colored pencils. She sat at the kitchen table and drew with focused concentration. Watched her, curious. "What are you drawing?" she asked. Held up the paper. It was a picture of 3 figures, a tall man with dark hair, a small girl with pigtails, and a very tall woman with blue skin and silver hair. "It is my family," said. Stared at the picture. Her heart felt tight in her chest. "I am in your family picture." "Of course, you live with us now. That makes you family." Tore the picture carefully from her notebook and gave it to. "This is for you, so you remember us when you go home." Held the picture in her large hands. It was simple, a child's drawing with crooked lines and messy colors, but to her, it was the most precious gift anyone had ever given her. "Thank you," she whispered. "I will keep this forever." Later that night, sat with Ho outside the farmhouse. The sky was full of stars, more stars than she had ever noticed before. In space, she traveled between them so quickly that she rarely stopped to look. But here on this small planet, the stars seemed magical. "What do humans think about the universe?" she asked. Ho thought for a moment. "We think it is very big. We think we are very small. We wonder if we are alone or if there are others out there." He smiled at her. "I guess we are not alone after all." "You are not alone," said. "The universe is full of life. Thousands of civilizations exist out there. Some are older than your entire planet. Some have technology that would seem like magic to you." "That sounds amazing." Shook her head. "It is not always amazing. Many of those civilizations are cruel. They conquer and destroy. They see weaker species as tools to be used. Earth is small and unknown. In some ways, that is a blessing." Ho looked up at the stars. "Do you think someone will come here someday? Someone not as nice as you?" "Maybe, I do not know," she paused. "But I hope not. This place is special. It should be protected." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Ho spoke again. "You seem sad sometimes. Even when you smile, there is sadness in your eyes. Do you want to talk about it?" Was quiet for a long moment. She had kept her secrets carefully, but something about this man made her want to tell the truth. "I ran away," she finally said. "From my home, from my responsibilities. There are people who want me to be something I do not want to be. They want me to marry someone I do not love. They want me to make decisions that hurt my soul, so I ran. Ho nodded slowly. That sounds very hard. It is. Everyone thinks they know what is best for me. No one asks what I want. No one sees me as a person. They see me as a symbol, a tool, a piece in a game. That must be lonely. Looked at him with surprise. No one had ever understood that before. Yes, it is very lonely. Ho reached over and placed his hand on hers. His hand was small and warm against her cool blue skin. You are not a symbol here, he said. You are just a person who crashed on my farm and needed help. That is all you need to be. Felt tears form in her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. She had not cried in years. Princesses did not cry. But here, with this kind man under the stars, she wanted to. How do you do it? She asked. How do you stay so kind? You lost your wife. You gave up your career. You live alone on this farm with your daughter. How are you not angry at the universe? Ho smiled. I was angry for a long time. When my wife died, I was so angry I could barely breathe. But anger does not bring people back. Anger does not help my daughter grow up happy and healthy. So I chose to let it go. I chose to find peace. Is it that simple? No, it is the hardest thing I ever did, but it was worth it. He squeezed her hand gently. You can find peace too. Whatever is waiting for you out there, you do not have to face it alone. The ship was almost repaired now. Tomorrow or the next day it would be ready, could fly away and return to her old life. The thought filled her with dread. She did not want to go back. She wanted to stay here, on this quiet farm, with this kind man and his wonderful daughter. She wanted to cook rice and draw pictures and watch the stars without worrying about empires and politics. But she knew she could not stay forever. Her responsibilities were waiting. Her people were searching for her. The longer she stayed, the more problems she caused. Her hidden communicator buzzed again in her pocket. More messages, more demands, the universe calling her back. She ignored it. Just one more day. Just one more day of peace before everything changed. She looked at its drawing in her hand. 3 figures standing together. A family. For the first time in her long life, understood what she had been missing. Not power, not wealth, not an empire. Just this, just connection, just love. And tomorrow, she might have to give it all up. The morning of the 5th day began like any other. Ho woke early and made breakfast, ate her rice and eggs while talking about a dream she had, sat with them at the small kitchen table, enjoying these final peaceful moments. Today was the day. The ship was repaired. Ho had finished the work yesterday evening and the systems were running again, could leave whenever she wanted. But she did not want to leave. She had not told them yet. She was trying to find the right words, the right moment. How do you say goodbye to people who have become your family in just 5 days? After breakfast, Ho went to his workshop to organize his tools, went outside to play in the garden, watched them through the window, memorizing every detail, the way Ho moved with calm purpose, the way laughed as she chased a butterfly, the way the sunlight made everything look golden and warm. Then she heard it. A deep sound like distant thunder, but the sky was clear. No clouds, no storm. The sound grew louder and felt her heart turn cold. She ran outside and looked up. 3 massive shapes were descending through the atmosphere. Warships, warships. The royal crest of her family was painted on their hulls in brilliant gold. They had found her. Ho came out of his workshop, shielding his eyes against the sun. What is that? What is happening? Did not answer. She could not answer. Her throat was tight with fear and shame. The warships landed in the field beyond the farmhouse. They were enormous, each one bigger than the entire farm. Their engines sent waves of hot air across the ground, flattening the grass and shaking the windows of the house. Ran to her father and grabbed his hand. She was not scared, just curious. She had learned that not all aliens were dangerous, but knew that what was coming would change everything. A ramp lowered from the largest ship. Soldiers marched down in perfect formation. They wore silver armor that gleamed in the sunlight, and they carried weapons that could destroy buildings with a single shot. Behind them walked a tall figure in a white uniform covered with medals and ribbons. Admiral, commander of the Royal Guard. He had served her family for centuries, and he was fanatically loyal. The admiral stopped in front of. His face showed relief, then concern, then something like horror as he looked at the small farmhouse and dirty workshop. He dropped to one knee. Every soldier behind him did the same. "Your Imperial Highness," Admiral said loudly, his voice carrying across the field. "Crown Princess, heir to the sovereignty, ruler of 400 systems, we have found you at last." Silence, total, complete silence. Ho stared at. His face showed no anger, no betrayal. Just quiet understanding, like pieces of a puzzle finally coming together. He said softly, "That is not your real name, is it?" Could not meet his eyes. "No, it is not." Looked between the adults with confusion. "Daddy, what is happening? Why are all these people kneeling?" Admiral rose to his feet. He looked at Ho and like they were insects, beneath his notice, beneath his contempt. "Your Highness," he said, "are you injured? Did these primitives harm you in any way? If they did, I will have this entire planet sterilized as punishment." "No," spoke sharply. "They helped me, they saved me, you will not touch them." The Admiral's eyebrows rose. "They saved you. Your Highness, you crashed on an undeveloped world and spent 5 days in these conditions." He looked at the farmhouse with disgust. "You slept here, you ate their food. This is unacceptable. The Council is furious. Your mother, the Queen, has been beside herself with worry." "I do not care about the Council," said, "and my mother's worry is political, not personal." Admiral's face remained neutral, but his eyes showed surprise. The princess he knew would never speak this way. She had always been proper, controlled, obedient. What had happened to her on this primitive world? Ho stepped forward. He did not bow or kneel. He simply stood straight and looked at the admiral calmly. "Your princess was hurt when she crashed here," he said. "I fixed her ship. She is welcome to leave whenever she wants, but you do not need to insult us while you are standing on our land." Admiral looked at Ho like he was seeing a talking animal. "You fixed her ship? Impossible. Our technology is far beyond anything your species could understand." "I understood enough. The ship works. Check it yourself if you do not believe me." The admiral turned to one of his officers and gave a quick order. The officer hurried toward the forest where ship was hidden. A few minutes later, he returned with a stunned expression. "Admiral," the officer said, "the ship is operational. The repairs are crude but effective. I do not understand how this is possible." Admiral's face showed actual confusion now. He looked at Ho with new eyes. "Who are you?" "I'm a mechanic, I fix things." "You are a primitive human on a primitive world. You should not be able to repair technology." Ho shrugged. "Machines are machines. The principles are the same everywhere." Something flickered in the admiral's eyes. Respect, maybe, or fear. Either way, he said nothing more about primitive humans. Stepped toward Ho. She wanted to explain, to apologize, to make him understand why she had lied. "Ho," she began, "I am sorry. I should have told you the truth. I was not just a traitor, I am. I am the crown princess of an empire that spans 400 star systems. I ran away because I could not bear my life anymore. I was tired of being controlled, tired of being used, tired of being alone." Ho looked at her with those calm, kind eyes. "I know." "You knew." "Not the details, but I knew you were running from something big. I knew you were important. It did not matter. You needed help, so I helped." Felt tears forming in her eyes again. "You treated me like a person, not a princess, not a symbol, just a person. No one has ever done that for me before." "Everyone deserves to be treated like a person," Ho said simply. tugged on's hand. "Are you leaving?" the little girl asked. "Do you have to go?" Knelt down so she was its level. It was hard for her with her tall body, but she wanted to look the child in the eye. "I have to go," she said gently. "I have responsibilities. People depend on me, but I will never forget you or your father." His eyes were wet. "Will you come back?" Hesitated. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to promise, but she knew how the galaxy worked. Once she returned to her empire, she might never be free to come back. "I do not know," she said honestly, "but I will try." Hugged her, those small arms wrapped around his neck, and the princess felt her heart break just a little. She stood and turned to Ho. She did not know what to say. Thank you seemed too small. Goodbye seemed too final. "Your kindness meant more than you will ever know," she said finally. "You showed me what I was missing. You showed me what I want my life to be." Ho took her hand one last time. "Go be a good princess. Change things for the better, and if you ever need a mechanic, you know where to find me." Laughed. It was a broken sound, half joy and half sorrow. She turned and walked toward the warships. Admiral fell into step beside her, already talking about politics and crises and things that needed her attention, but was not listening. She looked back once. Ho and stood together in front of their farmhouse, two small figures against the vast green field. They waved. Waved back. Then she boarded the ship and the ramp closed behind her. The engines roared. The warships rose into the sky. Earth grew smaller and smaller beneath them until it was just a blue dot among the stars. Sat alone in her quarters and took out the drawing had given her. 3 figures standing together. A family. She had made a decision during those 5 days on Earth. She did not know exactly what she would do or how she would do it, but she knew one thing for certain. She was going to change things for herself, for her empire, and for the small blue world where a mechanic and his daughter had shown her what kindness really meant. 3 weeks passed on Earth. Life returned to normal on the small farm. Ho fixed tractors and water pumps, went to school and played in the fields. The days were quiet and the nights were peaceful. But sometimes, Ho looked up at the stars and wondered about. No, not the princess who had crashed into his life and changed something inside him. He did not expect to see her again. She was the ruler of an empire. He was just a mechanic on a tiny planet. Their worlds were too different, too far apart, but he still thought about her. He hoped she was happy wherever she was. Talked about often. She asked when their tall blue friend would visit again. Ho did not have an answer for her. He just smiled and said maybe someday. Far across the galaxy, in the heart of the sovereignty, things were changing. Stood before the Imperial Council. 12 of the most powerful beings in the Empire sat in a half-circle around her, their faces showing various degrees of disapproval. Her mother, Queen, watched from her golden throne with cold, calculating eyes. "You refused the marriage alliance with the hegemony," said Council Lord, his voice thick with displeasure. "Do you understand what this means? The control vital trade routes. This marriage would have secured our economic future for centuries." "I understand perfectly," said. Her voice was calm but firm. "I will not marry someone I do not love for political convenience. There must be another way." "There is no other way," said Council Lady. "This is how empires work. Personal feelings do not matter. Only power matters." Looked at the council members, one by one. These were the people who had controlled her life since she was born. They had decided her education, her training, her public appearances, her future husband. They saw her as a piece on a game board, to be moved wherever it benefited them. "I visited a small world recently," said. "A primitive planet called Earth. The people there have almost nothing compared to us. No advanced technology, no space travel, no galactic influence. But I met a man there who showed me more kindness in 5 days than I have felt in my entire life among you." The council members exchanged looks of confusion and concern. "He was a mechanic," continued. He fixed my ship when it crashed. He asked for nothing in return. He fed me, sheltered me, and treated me like a person. Not a princess, not a political tool, just a person. Queen spoke for the first time. Her voice was smooth as silk and cold as ice. What is your point, daughter? My point is that we have lost something. Our empire is rich and powerful, but we have forgotten what matters. We treat people as resources. We see kindness as weakness. We measure everything in terms of gain and loss. Stepped forward. I want to change that. Lord laughed. Change. You want to change an empire that has stood for 10,000 years. Based on what? The kindness of a primitive mechanic. Yes, said simply, based on exactly that. The council erupted in arguments. Some called her foolish. Some called her dangerous. Some demanded that she be removed from the line of succession. But Queen raised her hand, and everyone fell silent. What exactly do you propose? The Queen asked. Had been preparing for this moment. I propose formal first contact with Earth, not as conquerors, not as traders seeking resources, as friends. The council gasped. Friends, Lord sputtered. With primitives they have nothing to offer us. They have everything to offer us, said. They have perspective. They have hope. They have kindness that does not expect payment. We have grown old and cynical as an empire. We have forgotten that there are things more important than power. She looked at her mother. Earth will be placed under protection. No other empire will be allowed to harm them or exploit them. And the man who helped me will be recognized as a friend of the throne. This is absurd, said Lady. The council will never approve this. Smiled. It was not a warm smile. I am not asking for the council's approval. I am invoking my authority as crown princess. Article 7 of the Imperial Charter allows me to establish protectorates over undeveloped worlds without council consent. Silence. The council members looked at each other in shock. No one had invoked Article 7 in 3,000 years. Queen studied her daughter with new eyes. There was something different about now, a strength that had not been there before, a certainty. Very well, the Queen said finally. You may have your protectorate, but this does not excuse you from your other duties. You are still the crown princess. You will still serve the empire. I will serve the empire, agreed. But I will serve it my way, and I will start by showing the galaxy that kindness is not weakness. 2 days later, a single ship departed from the... It was not a warship. It was a diplomatic vessel, elegant and peaceful, piloted it herself alone. She traveled across the galaxy, past countless stars and worlds, until she reached a small blue planet on the edge of known space. Earth. She entered the atmosphere and flew over oceans and mountains and cities. She found the quiet region she remembered, the green fields, the small farmhouse, the workshop. She landed in the same field where the warships had landed before, but this time there was no army, just her. Ho came out of his workshop when he heard the ship. He stopped and stared as the ramp lowered and stepped out. She was different now. She wore royal clothes, a flowing gown of deep blue and silver that matched her skin and hair. A small crown sat on her head, simple but unmistakably royal. She carried herself with authority and grace. But her eyes were the same, warm and golden and full of something that might have been hope. Ho said, then he corrected himself. You can call me if you want, she said. I liked being. Came running from the house. She stopped when she saw her eyes going wide. You came back, shouted. She ran across the field and threw herself at. The princess caught her and lifted her into the air, laughing. I promised I would try, said. I always keep my promises. She sat down and walked toward Ho. She was carrying something in her hand. It was the drawing had given her, now preserved in a beautiful frame made of crystal and gold. I kept it, she said. I look at it every day. Ho smiled. I am glad you came back. I have news, said. Earth is now under the protection of the sovereignty. No one will be allowed to harm your world or your people, and you, Ho, have been officially recognized as a friend of the throne." Ho blinked. "I do not know what that means." "It means you have the gratitude of an empire. It means if you ever need anything, the resources of 400 star systems are at your disposal." Ho looked at her for a long moment, then he laughed. "I do not need 400 star systems. I have everything I need right here." Nodded, she had expected that answer. It was exactly what made him special. "Would you like to come inside?" Ho asked. "I can make tea." Smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "I would like that very much." They walked together toward the farmhouse, Held's hand on one side and her father's hand on the other. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Inside the small kitchen, Ho made tea while sat at the familiar wooden table, climbed onto her lap and started telling her about everything that had happened in the past 3 weeks. School, friends, a stray cat she had found, a book she had read. Listened to every word. In her palace, people talked at her constantly, but no one ever really spoke to her. Here, in this tiny kitchen, she felt more at home than anywhere in the galaxy. Ho set a cup of tea in front of her. Simple tea in a simple cup, worth nothing by galactic standards, worth everything to her. "How long can you stay?" he asked. Sipped her tea. "I have duties, responsibilities, but I will make time to visit, as often as I can." "You are always welcome here." She looked around the kitchen. The worn table, the old appliances, the pictures on the wall. It was nothing like her palace. It was better. "I changed things," she said quietly. "Back home, I stood up to the council. I refused the arranged marriage. I made Earth a protectorate." Ho raised his eyebrows. "That sounds like a lot of change." "It was terrifying, but I kept thinking about what you said, about choosing peace, about letting go of anger, about finding what matters." She smiled at him. "You changed me, Ho, you showed me what I was missing." Looked up at her with innocent eyes. "What were you missing?" Hugged the little girl close. "A family," she said. "I was missing a family." Outside, the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, an empire of 400 systems continued its ancient dance of politics and power. But in this small farmhouse on a tiny planet, 3 people sat together drinking tea and talking and laughing. A mechanic who fixed machines, a princess who fixed her soul, and a little girl who had brought them together with nothing but kindness and a crayon drawing. The universe was vast and cold and full of danger, but in the warm glow of a kitchen light, surrounded by the people she loved, finally understood what it meant to be home.